We meet again this morning. How are you? Hope you slept well. How was the night? I hope you're fine. It's a pleasure to have you again in our class this morning. I hope you've had something to eat. Well, it's a good day. It's not very sunny outside, but I hope it doesn't rain today. So how are you feeling today? You're fine, I guess. And it's a good thing. Why don't you just send me a message to tell me how you're feeling? I'll appreciate that. It's okay, Buka. I'm very happy to have you again. How was the class the other time? The discussion of proportion. How was it? Fine, I guess, too. I know you will say it was very easy. Well, the fact is it's actually very easy. It's just for you to understand how to find the unknown. The one a little difficult has to do with the other one, where you have more than one unknown values to actually find. But for today, we want to look at something a little different, something that has to still deal with proportions. What we are trying to do is to ensure that we exhaust all the sides, all the details of a particular topic, so as to get you grounded in that topic. So today we are looking at worksheet on simple word problems of proportions. Worksheets on simple word problems of proportion. So still talking about proportion, we are going to be looking at word problems right now. So all you need to do is get ready with your pen, get ready with your books, because you're about to get solutions to some word problems on proportion. It's also important that you pay rapt attention, try to reduce the distractions that come in the house. I always prefer that my students go in a place where they would get less distraction, especially as you're at home. So there will be that temptation to go to do other things, go to eat, go to do other things. At times you might want to have your phone and your TV is on. These are distractions. Get them off you. It's very important, so that as you are learning, the learning process will finish without you losing out entirely. And you also remember that these things are paid for by your parents. So if you don't take it serious, then it means you don't appreciate the efforts they are making, even at this time where people are complaining of hardship, but you are not, because you're well fed, because you have everything you need. So some of those things, it's important that you appreciate them by taking advantage of them, by using them, and especially as it concerns me, who is also taking the time and the effort to ensure that you are taken care of academically. Alright, so let's go straight to what we are talking about. Now, there is something that we call the product of extreme terms. So I'm going to write that out. The product of extreme terms. Of course, when you hear the word product, what first comes to your mind? So when you multiply two or more things together. The result of multiplying two or more things together, that's product. I know you know that for subtraction. So the result of subtracting two or more things, you get a difference. The result of adding two or more things, you get the sum or total. While the result of dividing two or more things, you get quotient. But today, let's look at the product of extreme terms. What does that mean? What does that mean? So let's imagine that in a list of numbers, or a set of numbers, say 1, 2, or instead of using digits, let's use the cardinal numbers. Let's say we have the first term, second term, third term, then the last term, which is the fourth term. So what the product of extreme terms is talking about is that the product of the first term and the fourth term is equal to the product of the second and the third term. And when that happens, you say that the four numbers are in proportion. What we are saying is remember, this is like saying that is the product of the first term and fourth term equals the product of the second and the third term. And when that happens, this implies that the four terms are in proportion. So it's like taking the definition of proportion a step further. So what you normally do by finding x, actually it is called the product of extreme terms. Alright, the product of extreme terms. So what that is saying is, so if you have four terms, and how would you know that those four terms are proportional or are proportional or are in proportion? The only way to do that is if you multiply the first and the fourth and it gives you the second and the third, then you say that they are in proportion. Okay, that is very clear, not so? Good. So let's go straight to business. Let's go straight to solving some questions that has to do with proportion or the product of extreme terms. So questions would appear in such a manner. So let's say you have number 1, and it says the first, second, and the fourth terms in a proportion are given as 6, 18, and 75 respectively. Now when you hear the word respectively, it means that they follow in a pattern. The pattern could be ascending or descending order. So we're required to find the third term. So the first, second, and the fourth terms are in proportion. So you have 6, 18, and 75 respectively. So which means they are not haphazard, they follow a particular pattern. So we're required to find its third term. So let's write that out. So what we have, remember, the product of extreme terms says what? Can you remind me? Can you remind me what it says? Can you? Alright, what it says is that the product of the first term and the fourth term is equal to the product of the middle terms. So having said that, we are given the first term as 6, right? And the second term, sorry, the first term as 6, then the other one is 75. Please, let me squeeze in my solution here. Is equal to the product of the other, right? So what do we have? So I'm going to move the 18x over to the other side. So we're having 6 times 75. Then x is equal to, so as usual, in a little knowledge of placement of values in that manner. So this is just simple basic mathematical calculation. So let's divide with what we have. So 6 here cancels itself as 1, 6 here as 3, 3 into itself is 1, 3 into 7 here you have 2, then you have 1 here. So there is 3 into 15 becomes 5. So x becomes 25, considering that both the denominator and the numerator are exhausted. Alright, so we have a different thing here to do. So you have the ratio of the length and breadth of a football ground is 3:2. Find the length if the breadth is 28 meters. Okay, so that's what we have. The ratio of the length and breadth of a football ground is 3:2. But to find the length if the breadth is 28 meters. So that's what we have, like here. Alright, so if you remember in our discussion of ratio some time ago, we said that the formula for ratio, notice that since we are talking about proportion, you also have ratio mentioned here. So this kind of explains the relationship between ratio and proportion. So since ratio is mentioned, we are still going to introduce the formula for ratio for this. Do you still remember the formula for ratio? Do you? Well, I try to break it down in this manner. So for ratio, you have that ratio 1 over total ratio times total quantity over 1, right? So this gives you the first share, right? It gives you the first share. I think my board is faint, so it gives you the first share. While the second share, you have ratio 2 over total ratio times total quantity, the same thing, total quantity over 1. Then this gives you the second share, right? So having said that, they said they are sharing a particular quantity that is not given. The quantity is not given, that total quantity is not given, but what is being given is the ratio digits, then a share. So you have length and breadth. You say find the length. So what breadth is this, which is the second share? So we're going to use this to find the total quantity, right? So we'll use this second formula to find the total quantity. Notice that the difference between the first and the second is just that you have ratio 1 here, and here you have ratio 2, but the formula is the same. So let's see how we can get that done. So what is the ratio? What ratio 2? So ratio 2 so ratio 2 is 2, right? So ratio 2 is 2, and total ratio, you have 3 plus 2, which is 5, times quantity. Now the total quantity is not given, and you know when it's not given like that, what do? Since it's not given, which means it's unknown, we're going to replace it with an unknown, and you know an unknown could be any letter, so I prefer using y is equal to what is given, 28, which is the second share. So you have 28. Are you seeing that? Okay, so now having gotten this, notice that we can now find this, because since it's an unknown, we can easily find this, and when we do, we use that quantity to find the first share. So let's find the total for ratio. That is looking to find the total quantity, right? So I'm going to reduce that as QTY, which is the quantity. Looking to find the quantity. Alright, so can you get this done? So we have a fraction multiplying a whole number represented by y equal to a whole number. So when you have a fraction like that, what do? The first thing you do is, to make things easier for you, make this over 1, make this over 1. Now the reason why I am taking that method is to make it easier for you, since that's your level for now. So what do we do at this point? So imagine that you have a fraction, two fractions multiplying themselves. When there are no common factors for any of the numerators or denominators, either to here or here, what do? You multiply out, and that's what we're going to do. So you have 2 times y for the 1 on the top, 2 times y will give you 2y, and 5 times y will give you 5. Then 28 over 1 stays the same. So you see it's becoming clearer. So at this point, what do? You have 2 fractions on both sides with an equality sign in between. What do you do at that point? Then you need to cross multiply, because when you cross multiply, you're going to now get the value of y. So let's cross multiply at this point. So you have 2y, 2y times 1 is 2y. Then you have 28 times 5. Therefore, y is equal to 28 times 5 over 2. So we'll see a common factor between 2 and 28. So 2 into itself is 1, 2 into 28 is 14. Therefore, y becomes 14 times 5. So multiplying that we have 5. Let's multiply straight. The reason why I'm multiplying straight is because you have 2 digits multiplying 1 digit. So 5 times 4 is 20, 0 carry 2. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. So our y, so this becomes, I'm going to put that as total quantity. So this becomes our total quantity. But we're not done yet. Remember, the question says find the length if the breadth is 28 meters. Now we cannot find the length without first of all finding the quantity. 28 is the second share. So we have to use the second ratio to find it. So, but we cannot find imagine if we had just gone straight to use the ratio formula. We would have placed 3 here, 5 here, right? We would have placed 3 here, 5 here, no total quantity, no first share. So no total quantity, no first share means that we have what? 2 unknowns, and it's difficult to work out in mathematics. So what we'll do is that since we have now, instead of going straight to find the first share, what we did was to find the total quantity first. Now after finding the total quantity, having been discovered at 70, we can now easily find the first share. So let's resolve it by finding the first share. So finding the first share, finding the second share now. Since total quantity is found, so that would mean, so the first share will be, finding the first share, so you have 3 over 5 times total quantity now 70 over 1. Let's now find out what we have. So of course, fraction will have common factors. So 5 is 1. 5 into 7 is 1. You have 2 remaining. 5 into 20 is 4. So 14 times 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 carry 1. 3 times 1, 3 plus 1. 3 times 1, 3. Wait, 3 times 4 is 12. 2 carry 1. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1, 4. So that's what we have. So 42 becomes our first share, which is the same thing as the length of the football field. Right? So that's what we have. This one is not straightforward. You need to find the total quantity before finding the first share. So let's go back to the next question. So question number 3 has this to say. So number 3, so you have the ratio of copper and zinc in an alloy is 9:8. If the weight of zinc in the alloy is 9.6 kilograms, find the weight the copper in the alloy. So remember we said earlier that ratio, you could have people sharing, animals sharing, you could also have things sharing, because in this example copper and zinc, these are metals. So the ratio of copper and zinc in an alloy is 9:8. In an alloy means, simply put, it means when a particular thing is mixed with another, but you refer to alloy when you talk about metal. So when you have a mixture of zinc and copper together in a metal. So the ratio of the share is 9:8. That's the ratio. So which means copper is more, since copper is 9 and zinc is 8. So zinc is the proportion of copper is more compared to that of zinc. So it says the weight of zinc in the alloy is 9.6 kg. So it's the same thing with the previous question. It says find the weight of the copper in the alloy. So it's just the same thing. It's just the same thing. So just the same way, we are going to find what? We are going to find the total quantity. To find total quantity, you see the way I am using English language in my solutions, so it gives your examiner that the impression that you know what you are doing. So to find total quantity, what do we do? This implies that we have using ratio formula. So that will give you, now why am I choosing, because it says the weight of zinc in the alloy is 9.6 kg. I'm choosing zinc because zinc, the share of zinc was given, and the ratio for zinc is 8. So we have 8 over, which is the second ratio over total ratio. 9 plus 8 is 17, times, just the same way, because total quantity is not given, the first share is 9.6 kilograms. So just like we did for the previous one, we will just multiply out. So you have 8y over 17 is equal to 9.6 kg over 1. So at this point, what are we going to do? Of course, we are going to cross multiply. So we have 8y is equal to 9.6 times 17. Right? So let me create more space for us to work with. Therefore, y is equal to 9.6 times 17 over 8. Alright, so this is what we have. How about I give you some time to get to resolve that one? Can you try? Can you try to resolve this one? Now notice that 12 times 8 is 96, right? But because you have a point and you have the unit part and the tenth part, so 8 here is 1. 8 into 9.6 is 1.2, right? Therefore, y becomes 1.2 times 17. 1.2 times 17. Can you do that now? 1.2 times 17. So whatever you work out, it will give you 20.4. So 20.4 was what the total quantity that was shared. Okay, so having found the 20.4 as the total quantity, can you now tell me what is left to find? Can you tell me what is left to find? We can now safely find the weight of the copper in the alloy. Therefore, weight of copper in the alloy is equal to the same way. So you are having ratio 1. Copper is the first ratio, so you have 9/17. 9/17 times 20.4/1 gives you what you have. Alright, so whatever we get becomes our first share. Now 9 times 20.4, 9 times 4 is 36, and you carry 3 here. 9 times 0 is 0 plus 3, 3. Why 9 times 2 is 18? So you have 183.6/17. 183.6/17. Can you check to see if what I have just gotten is the same with what you have? So we are going to divide that value. We are going to divide that value with 17. So can you do that now? Can you try it? So if you do that, you are going to get 10.8, which becomes the weight of copper in the alloy. Okay, so that's what we have. Very easy, not to. It's always very easy, especially when it is explained easier too, so it becomes easy for you to just play around. So the time has come to give you questions that you can try. So I would want you to pay rapt attention, take it down, and ensure that you hand the solutions over to me. So let's see what we have. So try this. Number 1, income to expenditure. Income to expenditure ratio of a person is 8:7. His monthly income is 8,000 naira. What is his savings per month? Number 2, the ratio of the length to the width of a school ground is 5:2. find its length. If width is 40 meters. Number 3. A bus travels 205 kilometers on 20 liters of petrol. How much petrol will he need to cover a journey of 369 kilometers? So these are the third one, so you might need to like pause and play to get all of them. Okay, all right, so let's see the fourth one, which is the last. The fourth one, which is the last. So the fourth one says the ratio of science books to those on history is the same ratio of history books to those on geography. The number of books on history is 400, and those on geography is 800. Find the number of books on science. Alright, so that's what we have, right? 4 questions in all. Follow the same pattern, but since it's a word problem, if you do not understand the English, it becomes very difficult to solve. So you have to first of all understand the English behind what they are saying. In fact, it cuts across all word problems. If you don't understand the English behind it, translate it in your own words, follow it step by step, you will not solve it or get it right. Just the same way in translating languages. Mathematics has a language of its own. So if you are translating from, let's say, English to sign language, you know how it's done. You follow it step by step. So the same way, word problems, if you don't understand the English behind it, then it becomes too difficult to solve. So for now, this is what you have. Do well to do them. I'm yet to get your own solutions or results of the previous questions I had sent to you. But please, at this time, I do not want to joke around them. Alright? Please, I know it's at times it gets difficult to manage the temptation, but that's what makes you responsible. Manage the temptation of not doing what you're supposed to do at this time. But please, do not take it for granted. Alright? So I'll be expecting it. So catch you up next time. We'll still have our last class coming over this week. and I hope to still see you. So thank you very much. Take care, right? Cheers.